Chapter 5. The original song performance competition would open at exactly 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. Because classes on Friday were usually quite light, students from various schools felt like it was the weekend, so they flocked to the auditorium, which was packed. Yi Xing, who was the main person in charge and also one of the presenters, was very excited about this scene. To match the setting, she wore a green evening dress with flower prints designed and sewn by her mother, in a style that was both an evening dress and an dye traditional Vietnamese dress. The colors were both youthful and formal, also very soft and graceful. A male co-host, Zhu Liang, was also dressed as neatly and brightly as Xing. When the two appeared on stage together, they received enthusiastic cheers and applause from everyone. Both of them had rehearsed the basic lines in advance and had also planned the order of the performances, so the singing contest went very smoothly. Most of the contestants were familiar with the stage and were standing by in the backstage area preparing. But when the fifth person was singing, Zhu Liang said anxiously to Yi Xing that the number 6, Zizun, was nowhere to be found. Xing was very surprised. Before the opening, Xing herself had registered Zizun, so that Zun could draw a number to decide the order of singing. Zun was also very confident, and even smiled and talked. Why had he run away at the last minute? When the judges were giving scores to singer number 5, Xing had to announce through the loudspeaker, "Please singer Zizun come to the backstage area immediately." She announced it several times in a row, and some of the audience began to whistle. Yang suggested not to wait any longer and just call the next person to sing. Xing thought it made sense, but for some reason, she didn't want to do that. "Let's just wait a few more minutes." While she was speaking, she saw Zizun holding a guitar running into the backstage area. This put Xing at ease temporarily. This childish guy didn't do things reliably at all. She was about to ask, "Where did you go?" But seeing the guitar, she suppressed her voice. "So you know how to play guitar. Why did you tell me to go borrow a piano? Wasn't that a waste of time and effort?" And Zizun still said, "I caught you. You're asking another rhetorical question. I'll also ask a rhetorical question. Are the functions of each musical instrument the same? Didn't I register to sing 2 songs?" Xing sighed. She thought that Zun's counter-question wasn't unreasonable. Zun stepped out onto the stage. Everyone was already impatient from having to wait for too long. When they saw a guy who was swaggering and didn't have a hint of star quality, they all whistled loudly. Zun didn't seem to be fazed at all, and took the initiative to say, "The first song is written about World Earth Day. The title is Despair Valley." Despair Valley comes from Jin Yong's martial arts novel The Return of the Condor Heroes. The main characters are the couple Yang Guo and Ao Long, who went through 16 years of separation and didn't meet at all. They made an oath to reunite in Despair Valley. They met again and lived happily ever after. So he did read Jin Yong's novels. Xing was still annoyed that he had pretended not to know what the golden-haired Lion King was. She thought to herself that she would remember this and ask a rhetorical question to him in the future. In the student community, 9 out of 10 people had read Jin Yong's novels. The name of the song was very pleasing to people, so the reaction subsided a lot. The slow and sad guitar introduction attracted everyone, and the whole auditorium became silent. The clear singing voice flew far, and each word and sound permeated Yi Xing's ears. On the high peak, I stared down intently, wanting to pierce through the mist to make out your path. I still remember that autumn night. The wind was clear. You flew away like smoke. I'm a wanderer in a foreign land. Looking at the gray sky, I think worriedly. Do you still remember the oath we made to heaven and earth? Why is that valley green and lush? Now it's just a dry yellow land, containing so much grief. Heartless one, I count the grief of the land. Do you still remember that green and endless hillside? Could it be that you're still wandering in the vast dust? I don't know if I can return to your side. Unfeeling one, I soothe the pain of the land. I flap my wings and soar, with boundless desire. How many years of days, Life and death are two vague paths. But I can only meet you in my dreams. The applause sounded like thunder, along with loud whistling, but this time it was for praise. Xing was captivated, seeming to forget that she was a presenter. She looked down at the audience. Everyone was listening very carefully, not whispering or moving around disorderly. Suddenly, Xing felt an icy stare directed at her. The cold-faced student that she had seen in the lecture hall the other day was standing alone in a corner near the stage. His face was illuminated by the stage lights but still looked pale, and his eyes were looking straight at Zizun, then suddenly turned to look at Yixing. That look made Xing shiver. In an instant, Zizun had sat down on the chair in front of the arranged piano, and he began to play the music. Over the leisurely and slow music, a low voice rang out. The second song is Waiting, Waiting, telling the story based on a true event, of a guy and a girl, him and her. Life is leaving him. His only hope is wanting to meet her again, and maybe a miracle will appear. Her love will save him. In the years before, whenever he was waiting, she would come as promised. But this time, she didn't come. Waiting. It was past midnight. The eyes craving waiting have gradually become dazed. In the still of the night, the eyes want to say goodbye to you as you go far away. The road ahead of me is darker than the dim night. Waiting. It was past midnight. My burning heart has gradually turned cold. It's like expecting some gentle warmth in the middle of winter, but unexpectedly losing my way to a frozen door. I don't wait to see you. I swore not to separate and not to abandon. If I could see you one more time, it would be enough for me to have the courage to continue surviving. But now, waiting in endless hopelessness, my soul wanders alone in the dark night. I have asked about your news everywhere on the dusty earth, but you never hear my breath. At first, the singing was forced and heavy. When it reached the main part of the melody, the lyrics soared, woeful and painful to the extreme. The piano accompaniment, at first, seemed to sob and cry with the singer, but when the singing reached the I don't wait to see you like a cry, the piano resounded with deep and sorrowful knocks, like an ancient bronze bell suddenly ringing with anger. The singer Zizun was like an angry lion raising his head and roaring. Yixing didn't remember what state she was in when she listened to this song or how the audience reacted. She only felt her nose tingle and her eyes water. When she stepped back onto the stage, Xing's voice was choked with emotion. It's such a big joke. Zizun's name wasn't on any of the 3 levels of awards that were given out. Xing truly couldn't believe in the eyes and ears of the judges. Do you think he deserved an award? The head of the arts committee looked at Xing from head to toe in surprise. Are you okay, Xing? Only at this time did Xing realize that she seemed to be a bit too agitated. I'm okay. I just feel a little unfair. Of course, it's not too unfair, because music is a matter of personal taste. But the head of the arts committee was still planning to explain further, but she couldn't see Xing anymore. It turned out that Xing had seen Zizun leaving the auditorium from a distance with a somewhat dejected look, so she chased after him, planning to comfort him with a few words. It's okay. The main thing is to participate. I only intended to participate for fun, and by the way Zun smiled very genuinely, without a hint of concern about not winning the award. By the way what? Xing saw Zun staring intently at her face, his eyes filled with sadness and also a little moved. Do I have to say it? By the way, I wanted you to pay attention to me. When he said this, Zun was also very genuine. Xing planned to correct him with a few words, but then she thought that his personality was like that. He hadn't been evaluated fairly in the singing contest today, so she shouldn't add any more stimulation, so she said, next time, don't talk nonsense anymore, or else it will be difficult for us to talk to each other. Okay, I understand. I should know my place. I'm just a rookie. A pair of moldy chopsticks looking up at a sumptuous and unattainable table. That's right. You should know who you are. You are a singer with great potential. Xing felt that she couldn't continue to chat with this guy, but she was somewhat out of control. I wonder where Shan is at this time. Why doesn't she come to save me? You should also know who you are. You are very beautiful, especially when you wear this outfit. You are absolutely stunning, making me remember the girl in the story. When Zizun appeared serious, he made people feel that he was very deep. Xing was suddenly thoughtful and couldn't help but ask, "Are you talking about the girl related to the song Waiting? Waiting? It seems very tragic. I really want to know what the specific story is." After saying that, Xing secretly regretted it. Sure enough, Zun smiled cunningly, then revealed his true form. "So you fell for it? I will tell you that story, but not today. I will wait for next time, depending on whether you give me the opportunity or not." Xing knew that if Zun invited her to dance or to see a movie at this time, she would probably agree immediately. But she didn't want him to say the invitation. If that were the case, wouldn't he have become just an average guy? Shan had said that she was still too romantic. Xing felt a cold gaze directed at her again. Looking up, it turned out to be that student standing not far away, his shoulder carrying the guitar that Zizun had played just now. He was coldly looking at Zizun and her. It seemed that Zun also felt it, and he appeared uneasy. "We'll still meet in the lecture hall, right? We'll talk about it later." Zun turned around and walked to the cold-faced guy. Then the two of them walked straight away. Although it wasn't right, Xing still felt a little resentful and stood there for a while, until someone called Xing from behind. "Hi, Dad." Xing's father Deep Chanvu smiled brightly and held out his hands. Xing embraced her father's shoulders, looking closely at the wrinkles on his face. "Why did you come here? Why didn't you tell me in advance? I would have booked a room at the guest house for you. I've checked into the hospital's guest house of your school. A disabled person like me has a lot of free time." In recent years, he had often ridiculed himself like that. He looked carefully at his daughter and said with emotion, "I heard that you are organizing an activity today, so I had to take the train to come here and see. Since you entered university, I haven't visited even once. This set of clothes was made by your mother, right? You look radiant wearing it. Your mother is a talented person. It's a pity that I didn't have the fate to stay with her." Xing felt her heart ache. She took her father's arm and strolled in the gradually quiet courtyard. "Don't you blame my mother." Since her parents divorced, Xing and her mother had talked to each other more and more, but today was the first time she had talked with her father. "How could I blame your mother? Although I haven't lived my life very well over the years, at least I've understood to some extent that it's because I didn't want to strive to improve myself. Whatever she did, it was only for our family. Now that you're also studying at university, your parents have separated, so she can also focus on her career. It's not easy for a woman to have a career. How could I hinder her?" Xing felt that she didn't recognize him anymore. Today he understood the issues, unlike in the past, when he only buried himself at the mahjong table and drank alcohol and smoked cigarettes. His eyes were always drowsy, and he spoke with an unclear voice. Perhaps the divorce had strongly affected him, causing him to clearly recognize right and wrong. Xing said, "You're not old yet, and you have an intelligent mind. You can still rally yourself, find a starting point to go to a new career, and maybe there's still an opportunity to get back together with my mother." Mr. Vu sighed. "It's easy to say, but not easy to do. I know that I made your mother very sad. However, when I think that I have a daughter like you, I'm already very happy. Especially when you have the virtue of optimism and progress, just like your mother used to be. Actually, I don't understand why I declined so quickly afterward. Maybe I didn't try to overcome the threat of middle age, and then went downhill without stopping." The two of them walked and talked. Xing was wearing little clothing, so she felt colder and colder as they walked. Seeing that his daughter was shivering, Mr. Vu took off his jacket and put it on her. Xing raised her head to look. She cried out softly, "No wonder." It turned out that they had walked to the side of the anatomy building. "Why did we come here?" Xing both blamed and introduced to her father. This is the anatomy building. It's said that many ghost stories happen here. The two entered, and Mr. Wu said oh, as if he was somewhat surprised. Xing guessed, do you think that the cement sill is very strange? I heard that it was to prevent formaldehyde from spilling out and polluting the environment. Mr. Wu called out, that's not right. He planned to stop but then said, nonsense. Would medicine just spill out towards the door? Solutions that leaked would slip everywhere. How could a sill stop it? Building the high sill is definitely to suppress ghosts. Xing was surprised. Even you have heard of that. It's probably a superstitious story. In rural areas, people often think that corpses and ghosts cannot raise their feet high, and the sill can prevent ghosts from stepping out of the house. So there must have been someone in the past who suspected that this building had ghosts, so they built this sill. As long as you don't enter here late at night, they can't disturb you. Xing thought to herself, we've already been here. But was afraid that if she said it, she would make her father worry. The more Mr. Wu thought, the more serious he felt the matter was. He stopped, placed his hands on Xing's shoulders, and lowered his voice. Promise me you will never come here alone at night. Seeing his grave expression, she nodded. When they returned to the female student dormitory, it was already time to turn off the lights. The two said a reluctant farewell. Xing took off the vinyl jacket, but Mr. Wu stopped her. Just wear it. To wear it is more convenient for self-study sessions. Her father's extremely kind gaze caused Xing to be unable to refuse. She turned and walked into the door. Mr. Wu stood outside and called out loudly. She turned back again. He held her hand and looked at her face for a long time, reminding her, you must listen to your mother, and if there's an opportunity, tell her that I am very sorry to our family. 2 lines of tears gathered in the wrinkles on his face, falling onto the back of Xing's hand, still as warm as before. The urgent knocking on the door roused Xing from her sweet sleep. For the first time in days, Xing was able to sleep soundly. Hing, there's an urgent phone call for you. The gatekeeper called. It was only 6:00 am. Who would call so early? Xing immediately threw on the jacket her father had left behind last night and went downstairs to answer the phone. The voice on the other end of the line was her mother, Qiao Ying, sobbing. Hing, your father has passed away. Before Xing could fully understand, she asked, Mom, what did you say? I just met Dad last night. Dad came all the way here to see me. Qiao Ying sobbed, I know you can't believe it right now, but it's the truth. Your father had terminal brain cancer. He'd been in the hospital for a month. His brain became paralyzed a week ago. I didn't dare tell you because I was afraid it would affect your midterm exams. Your father's heart stopped beating early this morning. Xing held the phone, her hand trembling. That's impossible. I definitely met Dad last night. The two of us even took a walk together. Dad even left me his jacket. Xing suddenly felt that some of her father's slightly strange actions last night had become reasonable and appropriate, which was very unlike him normally. Qiao Ying was very worried that Xing would be distraught after hearing the bad news, so she suppressed her tears and gently advised, you must calm down. I'll contact the teacher in charge of student management in the department and ask him to let you take a few days off from school. You come home to see your father's face one last time. We'll cremate your father in 3 days. I'm starting to make my way to pick you up now. Although Xing's mind was unusually chaotic, she tried her best to calm herself. Mom, there are probably a lot of things to resolve at home. You don't have to come to pick me up. I'll go buy a train ticket now. I'll be home tomorrow. Seeing that Xing was so calm, Qiao Ying felt more at ease. She sighed again. You must come home, and you also have to talk with me. Right now, I feel very sorry for your father. Do you know, your father found out he had brain cancer right after he was laid off, and he hid it from both of us and didn't go for treatment, saying that he was afraid it would make the two of us even more involved because treating brain cancer without health insurance would bankrupt the family, especially when our family's economic situation wasn't very good. I criticized him, but it was all too late. Saying this, Ying cried uncontrollably. Xing held the phone, sitting dazed, letting the tears flow. After a long time, she said, "Mom, I'm going to the train station now." After saying that, she slammed the phone down and rushed out of the door. She ran very fast on the campus in the early morning light. If her father had had brain paralysis since last week, then who had she met last night? She was clearly wearing her father's jacket, which still smelled of his usual cigarettes. Could it be that before he left, her father wanted to see her one last time and give her this jacket as a souvenir? Xing remembered that he said he was staying at the hospital's guest house of the No. 1 affiliated hospital, so she ran there immediately. Xing asked to check the guest register, and was told that there was no Deep Chan Vu who had stayed there. Then who was the person who came last night? If she couldn't believe in her own eyes and ears anymore, then what could she believe in? Suddenly, she connected the strange events she had encountered recently, and she couldn't help but tremble in the cold of the morning breeze. "It seems that you're not very well," a familiar voice rang out. Xing raised her head. A pair of concerned eyes. It was teacher Yang Youngkun. Only at this time did Xing realize that she had somehow come to the anatomy building. Teacher Kun was wearing sportswear, probably exercising in the morning. "Do you need me to take you to the medical room? Perhaps I can say that I am a specialist in this area." Teacher Kun's gentle voice made Xing feel a little more comfortable. She realized that her hair was disheveled and her face was tear-stained. She lowered her head. "What's wrong?" Xing felt that she really needed someone to listen to her and tell her what she had been going through. The tears that she had just managed to hold back spilled out again. After hearing the story Xing told, Teacher Kun's eyes also reddened. He gently patted Xing's shoulders and said, "Don't be too sad. Try to think more openly. Actually, you have a very good family. Although your parents are divorced, they both love you very much. You also understand very well that not everything has tragic elements. Go home quickly. You and your mother can comfort each other and overcome this pain together. As for whether the person last night was your father's spirit or not, it doesn't matter. The dead can't be brought back to life." Xing stammered, "So you don't believe in ghosts?" Teacher Kun sighed, pointing to his head. "I think that everything comes from here. People's eyes and ears can be objective at times and controlled by subjective consciousness at others. Those who believe will believe even the most illusory things. Those who don't believe will wave aside even the most reasonable things. The bottom line is that you shouldn't be gullible, we should be in control of ourselves." I said it somewhat vaguely. "I hope you won't be upset. Just go back to the dormitory to rest and arrange things. I don't have class this morning. I will arrange to take you to the train station. I wouldn't dare bother you." "Don't say that. Although you are a very strong person, you need help right now. My point is still the same. You'll be fine after you get through this period. Go now, and remember to report to your class advisor." Teacher Kun's kind eyes warmed Xing.